The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100, we've short-term appeared to have reached a little bit of a top. Now, we had FOMC today, and Jerome Powell didn't give us exactly what we wanted. Now, we knew we weren't getting a rate cut. We knew that wasn't happening, even though the market was pricing into something that was ludicrous. But what we can get is some information that Powell was saying. And he also hinted at what's going to happen with growth over the next few months and how this could play out in the short and long term. We also have some very big earnings coming in tomorrow, and I'm going to give you my exact viewpoint on those stocks and how I see them moving over the next 24 hours. The biggest earnings most likely being Apple, Amazon, and Meta. Those are going to be absolute monsters that will move the market from tech all the way to consumer discretionary. So definitely things that you need to be talking about and watching for today. Let's not talk anymore though. Let's get to work. Now, number one, this is what happened. We came down to our demand zone that we mentioned in yesterday's video. We opened up basically, when futures opened back up after the after hours, you were at the bottom of that range, you're 17.4. We consolidated, we broke, and we retested and came down to our next level around 17.2. Now, we wanted to see a push down to 17.15. That did not happen though. But I will say this is still so far a decent reaction. We want to see if buyers can step in and get some continuation back towards the upside. You go into something like ES, you get a better visual here. Really quick, we go there. You can see you're at that next key level right here around 48.74, 48.75 roughly. Now, if you're a bear, you want to see a break, a retest, and continuation for the downside overnight. And so that's really what's happening here. You can also see that we have no liquidity in this zone all the way down to 48.38. So if we get some downside, I believe it will happen pretty quick. If you're more of a fan of what's happening here with SPY and everything here, you can really get a better visual as well. So when you zoom back in here, you can see you have a little bit of demand sitting here. But once you get below this level, similar to ES, 482.5 all the way down almost into 479, 478, there's just nothing. So again, there's definitely some concern from me when I look at what's happening here in these levels and really what can, start to take effect here in the short and long term as well. So again, if you're looking for downside, you would like to see a break, some sort of retest and continuation down towards 480, 479 roughly. ES will be a better grasp visual there also. Going into Qs, we look what's happening here. Again, was pointing these out for Discord. You can look on some shorter time frames and see you have a little bit of support. But again, there's nothing down to like 413. So any more selling, you assume the gap gets filled, which we should also take note of. So these are all things that we need to be watching in the short term specifically. Now, before we go any further, I will say, consider liking and subscribing, but also too, our text alerts are now coming out tomorrow. Be on the lookout. So at midnight, they should be available. It's first come, first serve. There will only be 20 total spots, if that. Just to let you know, so this was an example of how they go straight to your phone. You also get access to Discord as well, but this is something that I personally invested in for the company for this year to test out to see what you guys like. So now you'll never miss a thing. You're getting updates all throughout the day, and it makes it really easy for me to like just give you directly what I'm thinking throughout the day as well, more updates and things along those lines. So make sure you're tapped in, you're testing that out. Now going into Fed Powell. Now, Powell said a few things, right? Now, the biggest thing that he said here was that you're not getting a rate cut, and the market didn't like that. They also talked about a soft landing. They said, do you think this is a soft landing? He said he doesn't want to declare victory too soon, and he doesn't believe this is a soft landing yet. That's when you kind of had the market pull back off of that, right? I don't think anything he said was negative, though. Also, too, the Federal Open Market Committee's policy statement omitted language suggesting that there are more interest rate increases to come, right? This is the first time that they've taken that off there. So again, also pretty bullish, right? These are also things you need to be looking at. So everything's happening the way we want it to. I will say I don't see a rate cut coming until at the soonest early summer. So June, maybe July. That would be the earliest for me. Personal opinion, unless something really terrible happened, even though this administration is really pushing that on Powell and everyone in the Fed Reserve. Now, when we look at the broad market, honestly, it wasn't that bad looking at the reaction that we've had. You're seeing stocks that have had their earnings really get hit. And then you're also seeing stocks like Meta and Amazon getting hit as well. And I think those getting hit pre-earnings is really dangerous for people that want to go short, because Amazon's getting hit based on Google's cloud growth. And that's unfair. If you look at Google's cloud growth over the past 2 to 3 years, it's been on a steady decline, whereas Amazon and Microsoft continue to grow. So why are you basing that on competition that hasn't done well? It's like when NVIDIA was dropping when Intel reported bad earnings or lack of growth in their earnings, right? Why are they on the same page? NVIDIA is, increasing revenue by $2 billion each quarter. Why is Intel even in the conversation? Totally different. So that's how I view that. So tomorrow, just really quick, expectations on earnings. Apple, I don't see it going well. Personally, they said today that 15%, they expect a drop of 15% in iPhone sales over the next year. As far as deliveries, that's not good. So yeah, I also, maybe they hype up Vision Pro. I don't really care. We'll see though. Amazon, I think Amazon beats. I think Amazon might smash and do very well. Won't be trading them, but I do believe that. I think Meta's the coin flip here. We saw YouTube's ads do well in their ad revenue, but we saw the Google ad revenue kind of be lackluster. So it's kind of a 50-50 for me. Meta is still the most dominant player when it comes into ads if we're excluding something like TikTok. So definitely grain of salt. Looking at that, I still think Meta, I would not short it. I'll just be reacting to what they do because they just continue to surprise me all year long. So that's my viewpoint there. So let's go quickly into the DXY and yields and see what happened there from what Powell said. Also, too, when we go over to Edgeful, I just want to highlight that this was probably one of the more lackluster days that we've had on FOMC in maybe 2 years. Now, granted, this is your traditional movement when you have FOMC going into it. You obviously don't move at all, especially on the negative days, and then you kind of drop, you get back up, and then you drop again, right? It's typically how it kind of works, right? But even when you look at this, it's just like, this is SPY, for instance. We didn't have any good movement. It was just really choppy all day. And I would say even the end of the day chop was pretty like lackluster, right? Like granted, like the full 4-hour candle is ugly, but I go to the 5-minute, it's just like, like was it that bad? It's just like a slow grind. I can go back to other cases to where we've had really big drops. And so, maybe it's just this is the beginning potentially, but we'll have to see, especially if earnings go bad tomorrow. Like I think it's just going to ramp up even more. So that's the big thing there. Going into something like, and if you're interested in Edgeful, the link is down below, so make sure you check them out. So DXY, again, today's video is a little bit different, so I want to go over a few things. Now DXY, I continue to say this. The biggest thing you're looking at is what's happening here, right? You're making those lower highs, and you can see we're making higher lows. And I did say, you want to not focus too heavy on what's happening, until FOMC comes out. And there's a lot of indecision here from FOMC. You see the initial drop late at night and then a strong bounce back up, and we're pinning to that 200 MA. You can also see with our VPVR here on the side, this is the new one that just got released from Chart Prime as well. So if you have Chart Prime, make sure you go over, it's right here, volume profile. You can also bring up money flow POC if you want, do a few other things. But yeah, so you can see we're pinning right there as well, which is really close to the 200 SMA, which makes logical sense where we're finding that. So again, we want to see, and I will say, if you mount above this, it'll liquid to the top. You get below this, it'll liquid to the bottom. So definitely a very big decision time coming very soon. 30-year yield. This is the part that has me the most curious. So again, as I've mentioned here, we came right into our key level, 4.4. We rejected, and we are falling straight down from this. Now the question is, does the yields recover, right? So far, since FOMC, even though we're kind of, dropping here on SPY, yields are going down. TLT in the after hours is still green. TLT over the past few days performing fantastic since Monday. So again, still looks pretty interesting, still looks pretty bullish there, especially if TLT mounts to 200 SMA. Again, the US 30 year is the one I'm paying the most attention to. If you get below 4%, I am a major bull. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what earnings do. If you get below 4% on the 30-year yield, I'm a major bull. I've gone over all that data, and so there's no point in me doing any more of that right now. So that's my viewpoint there. Now, even still, again, you guys are probably like so tired of hearing me say patience. I'm going to say one more day, guys. What's one more day? Now, The reaction that we'll get in the morning is going to be interesting since we're sitting again at a major support on the Nasdaq and almost on ES as well, right? So we might get a bounce early in the morning, and that's kind of what I would be looking for. If we started falling straight through the zone, I'd be really concerned, right, in the short term, right? So those are things that I'm looking at right now. But I will say tomorrow's earnings again. When Apple does bad, it typically holds back the rest of the market. I'm just saying, when it does bad, it typically holds everything else back. So we need to be paying close attention to what's happening there. Expanding on that though, Amazon could be the saving grace. So that's why I say here, you need to be real patient. Just let this play out the way it's going to do. And, if multiple of these come out bad, let's say Meta comes out bad and Apple comes out bad, this could really start bringing XOK, a little bit more of a retreat to the downside, right? I will continue to say, though, I think Microsoft's earnings were good. I think Google's earnings were lackluster. But, you're still seeing, even though Microsoft had good earnings, you saw a quick pop on the day and then just pushed all the way back down. Because if indexes are pushing down, it's highly likely that even though your stock is doing well, it's not going to hold up just versus the rest of the market, unless you're NVIDIA. That's the only one that can do it, apparently, in this type of market. Okay, so really quick, what we're going to do right now, we're going to go over a few equities. And again, I do want to remind you guys, I can only say it so many times. Discord is available. The link is down below. I can only say it so many times because once the spots are locked up, you guys always email us, and we don't open spots unless they're open. So if they're open, take advantage while they are. Again, so going back into equities. Now, I'm not trading anything with earnings. I am interested in NVIDIA. The fact that NVIDIA continues to hold above 600 is beyond me. It is crazy. It is wild. What I will say, though, if you look here at the 2-hour, it is possible that you're kind of flagging here, going back into 620. I hate those wicks, but yeah, still, worth mentioning, flagging, the 90-man, the 1 hour, touching, it's kind of ugly. So, I'd be looking. If you get back below 600, there's definitely cause for concern. And I think you could get back below 600, if these earnings go bad. I'm going to tell you right now. I've seen some wild moves from Apple and the rest of these names and how they've affected the market. Netflix, I'll continue to say it. Netflix has been a great long off the key level down here at 562.5. It's one of my favorite names. But again, I have to acknowledge what's taking place here. Potentially, you're just making lower highs, trending down, getting ready to break down. Ideally, if you break down, this is what you're looking for. It's very simple. A break, retest, and then a push down towards 550, 552, right? That would be my target down there. Now, how you react from there, if you get below 550, God help us, this thing's going to get ugly. So again, even though I like the stock, again, this is me being unbiased. I've been liquid all week. I've been telling you guys, right? I love some of these. I had one call on Netflix. That's it. But really, really liquid for the majority of this week because anything could happen, right? If FOMC would have went great, it would have been awesome. Hip hip hooray. We would have been, all in, but it just didn't go our way, right? It's still moving, kind of sideways here, and we're still not getting clear direction. That's the hardest part here. A little bit further, Tesla. Tesla is probably one of the better setups on the entire market. So number one, you had a key level up here at 198, 197. Jay had it at 197. I think it was on the newsletter too. But yeah, I didn't have that level. I had 198. So you didn't get that test, but you hit the 197 level. Jay, you win this time. And you rejected. Now you come back into the 1 hour today and you see you hit the previous low that we established in October to the tick and you reject. Now, this is where things start to get ugly. If Tesla starts breaking this higher low trend and we start getting below 185 basically 186, you're going to be in trouble, and Tesla could start, getting its legs kicked from underneath it, pushing down towards 170, maybe even lower. Again, it comes on the backs of what's happening with Apple, Amazon, and Meta. And I think this will directly affect all these other names as well and the indexes. Apple. Now, Apple, I'm not a huge fan of basically since they had the Vision Pro Day, when we were going over that, you've just been making lower highs and lower lows continuously in this little downtrend back into their earnings, right? Which their earnings are tomorrow. Really kind of ugly there. So what I'm looking for now is a potential test of 183 tomorrow or 182.3. That's where I would be looking. Now, if you start getting upside, I'm just not interested. Just going to tell you right now. Simple as that. So that's what I'm looking at there also. A lot of you guys are asking about AMD. Again, the earnings were lackluster, but the thing with these earnings now is that you're having stocks at all-time highs, right? And they're pushing like crazy, right? Because the expectation of what they're doing. And then when they push up, to all-time highs, in the 1 month, you have this question of, okay, well, your earnings are here. Are they going to justify it? Now, they report good earnings, they beat, but they don't give you outlandish goals and what's going to happen in the next quarter, like something like NVIDIA, for example, right? And so when we look at names like those, it kind of sets crazy expectations for stocks like AMD. I still think AMD is bullish. You're holding above your previous 2022 highs, clearly holding. But again, just like I mentioned with NVIDIA, you're kind of getting like that flag. So you're bouncing off support, still rejecting off the 90 MA, and it looks like it wants to get some more downside. That's what I will say. But I wouldn't be looking to go short on any of these names until you break those supports. So like 600 on NVIDIA and then 164.5 here on AMD. If you break and retest this level, it's a great short opportunity. Simple as that. But that's how I would be approaching it and how I think that this is going to be the better play out. Now, if you want to go long, I don't want to go long in this range. I have no desire. But if you get back above 174, again, it's a great opportunity. Just like back here when we mentioned it over and over and over. So that's how I'm playing and how I'm looking at it. Again, if you have questions on these names or you want more of a breakdown, you have anything else like that, our Twitter link is down below, so I recommend that you check us out. Every single day we post videos. We go live every day at 10 a.m. Central, 10:30 a.m. Central. So make sure you check us out. Have a good one, traders.